Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Banished seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which after we have our starting hand, our entire deck gets banished. And this event has one of the most toxic metas. So today I'm going to show you how to counter that meta with a deck that just got huge buffs. So let's go give it a look. So today we'll be revisiting our Monsters Arachas Swarm counter meta deck that has always been one of, if not the most underrated deck in this event, which conveniently does particularly well against a deck that almost everyone is doing. Nilfgaard spamming cards like Tibor and Vilgefortz, which I would argue is extremely toxic and makes this one of my least favorite events in all of Gwent. However, it makes it feel that much better when you can use this deck to shut them down. And this deck is now more consistent than ever against other opponents. So one of the reasons why Nilfgaard is so strong and so common in this event is because cards like Tibor with huge base power also serve as engines and have no downside because there's no card for your opponent to draw. So this guy single-handedly breaks the entire event and makes almost any deck invalid unless they have a way to counter him. Then those same decks also spam Imperial Golem for a huge point slam because since your deck doesn't have any cards in it, there's no downside to this either. So that's why we have Glorious Hunt so that we can remove Tibor, who is especially tough to get rid of because he has immunity. So save Glorious Hunt for him if you are going against Nilfgaard. Then the recently reworked Wolfsbane can also target one of your opponent's strongest cards, as long as it doesn't have immunity, so this is mostly for cards like Imperial Golem. And it's an organic card, which is a nice bonus for the other things we're trying to do with this deck. Because other than that, we're going wide with a ton of organic cards and unit spawning with things like Arachas Nest, Spontaneous Evolution, and even other more control-centric organic cards like Arachas Venom and Parasite. Then throw in the new insectoids that we've not yet had in this event, like Kikimore Hatchling and the Kikimore Stalker, and suddenly we have even more potential to both spawn units and deal damage, giving us lots of points by going wide, making it hard for our opponent to use counter meta decks against us, and damage even if our opponent is going wide, which otherwise was one of this deck's shortcomings. Throw in the new Acid Spit, and we can do that even better. And then Hive Mind, which gives us an amazing way to not only get some of those key Kikimores on the board, but also a way to get some carryover, which is extremely valuable in this event. Throw in the recently reworked Ider for even more damage and even more spawning, Kikimore Queen, who is now much easier to activate the boost from, and the newly reworked Saer Qu'an, which now gives us another great source of damage. We still have Triss Telekinesis for even more access to organic cards, Yennefer to boost us up since we're going to have way more units than our opponent, and Bone Talisman as another way to benefit from flooding your side of the board. And I even threw in a few extra point slams if you need them with Ozzrel, especially useful if your opponent played one of those really high base power cards in one of the earlier rounds, or if you removed them, and the newly reworked Fiend as well. So there's a look at the deck, which has always been incredibly strong in this event, but with all the new and reworked cards, is now more versatile than it ever was before. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against monsters here in what could be a bit of a mirror match, and they'll go first. Okay, so if they're also going Arachas Swarm, don't think we're going to see as many high power cards. Of course, there's a chance they'll use something like Yennefer, but otherwise, Ozzrel, maybe not the best choice here. And we may just want to try to outspawn them with things like Hive Mind in particular, could be really good. I don't know if Wolfsbane's going to be that useful either, though, since they're probably going to be going wide, not that tall. And we have a lot of spawning. We have fantastic spawning in this hand. So much so that we probably don't really want a full-length round. Of course, we won't be drawing cards in between rounds, so we just want to be... Naturally, they immediately go relatively tall. Make me question whether we chose to go in the right direction there. But, I think we want to have round one go somewhat long, or at least, you know, a few cards, so that we don't have a full-length round 3 and risk running out of board space, although we do have, I saw Stalker in there, so that at least gets rid of some risk of us completely running out of board space. That's what we'd like to do here. I mean, we could go Hive Mind for the carryover, which I think is perhaps even the best way to start here. Otherwise, I mean, you could go something like Hatchling first. Guess that's technically preferable, depending on just how long we think this round is going to go. Predatory Dive, okay, fair enough. Maybe we should have protected against that with an Arachas Swarm charge there, but it's not like that was a humongous card we lost. So we could Hive Mind here, and now we do still have another Hatchling. We could go Arachas Swarm, well, Arachas Swarm, one charge, then Spontaneous Evolution is fantastic for spawning a bunch of stuff. Could also use the Stalker plus Spontaneous Evolution for similar purposes. Kind of like to save Stalker for round 3, just in case we do run out of board space, or at least have the risk of that. I guess we could get Hive Mind to give that as well, so maybe this is still okay. Also, technically, should have done this first. Suboptimal order. Missed one charge on the Stalker. Okay, they're gonna spawn a bunch of stuff as well. So now they might be eyeing something like Bone Talisman or Yen. In the case of Yen, if we get a bunch of cards on the board as well, then that significantly reduces the value for them, because we're both going to benefit from it just about the same amount. Potent Talisman can't really do much to stop that right now. But I'm thinking we go Spontaneous Evolution here. And with this Stalker, we can now get rid of a bunch of these guys and reduce the value of them doing wide boosts and what have you. And that's where, having that one extra charge could have been more useful. And they're going to go Spontaneous Evolution as well. Sure. So it's definitely very mirror match-like. Arachas Nest certainly gives us a ton of cards on the board, but then we need to ask ourselves, how much are we trying to invest in round 1? Because it's gone long enough now. Round 2, round 3 certainly wouldn't be a full-length or near full-length round, but we would still like to have some time to fill the board. But then again, if we have at least one Arachas Nest and a Bone Talisman and a few leader ability charges, then that may be enough even in a short round to make that work. Especially, if we can get the carrier from Hive Mind, that may be our win condition, really, is to have this be our differentiation. In which case, is it a hatchling? Well, we would have liked to have done that earlier, but, I guess. It does mean at this point now we are assuming that this round is going to go a fair bit longer, otherwise that was not worth investing. Okay, Griffin is a point slam. They're going tall enough that we actually could have benefited from bit of the tall punish here, but that may still mean we can out-engine them, as we did invest in an engine on the previous turn. I think we go one of our Arachas Nests, and then we finish with Hive Mind. And now we can, once again, do some stuff with the Stalker to make them less wide, and therefore benefit less from the types of things they want to be doing at the end of a round. Which could be a pretty big factor. So they'll pass here. I think this is where we use Hive Mind, and between the Stalker and Hatchling getting a little bit stronger, and we probably would go for the Worker first for the tempo, I think we should have enough to win this round on this turn right here. So that means this is going to be what we get right now. And we want to get Stalker and Hatchling early in the next round for the carryover purposes. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so do that, and we're good. So we'll win round 1. And it did go somewhat long, so it's going to be a somewhat short round 2/3. So I think we probably dry pass here, because we did play one more card than our opponent. We're hoping they aren't about to play a Hive Mind, because if they did, then they're also going to get a bunch of carryover from that in round 3. That is the big advantage we potentially have. So we'll see what they do here as their throwaway. But it is Hive Mind. Oh, no. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. They go for the Worker. Okay. All right, then. Definitely a mirror match. Oh, they went first for the Hatchling. I think Stalker first for us might be a bit of a difference maker in this mirror match, because it allows us to more easily shut them down when they're trying to go wide with things like Germain. So what's our most efficient way to get the process started, though? It's probably leader ability charge to immediately get the Stalker, and then it might be Arachas Nest. Just get as many on the board as quickly as possible, because, again, we're trying to plan for them doing something like a Yennefer. I mean, we could go melee row Yennefer right now and destroy all those guys, which would be not a bad idea. That might even be the best way to use Yennefer, to tell you the truth. If not for the Stalker, I think we still, with the Stalker, I think we can get a bit of the best of both worlds. So let's get rid of these guys. Make it harder for them to go wide. Could have used another leader ability charge, got rid of that, but we'll see. So those, of course, are not drones, and therefore will not activate the Hive Mind stuffs. Okay, it's Sultan, and they're going to destroy our melee row. So they chose to do what I was thinking about doing with Yennefer. Interesting. Okay. So now I think we're going to want to go leader ability charges plus Triss. And that should give us an organic card. That'll give us the Hatchling. So we'll do this just to set ourselves up for potentially better value from Triss. Do this. And I think Spontaneous Evolution's probably best here on the Stalker. Although Bone Talisman definitely can be nice, and even Arachas Venom is certainly not bad either. But This is just really useful to be able to do this. There's a chance they might be able to destroy this if they have more tall removal. And they do. Darn it. Okay. Well, could have used a few more charges, I suppose, on some of these guys, and maybe that was the best choice, just so that if they were to use some of that stuff, we could have still countered it, as we did kind of anticipate it. Now they're using their Stalker. I think this is where we're going to have to break out probably Hatchling, and then it might need to be Yen now, because otherwise we run the risk of losing some of these guys now that they have a Stalker out. So let's do that. And it will give us the Warrior, which is a way to turn 1 power drones into 3 power warriors. Granted, we're about to boost these into 3 power drones anyway, so that's not really a huge factor. That's why I saved it for last. Could we still justify this? I think it is Yen. It's probably still Yen. So that should make it much harder to do things with their Stalker, which means Bone Talisman should be more effective as well. We're gonna go after Yen. That actually would have been the one card we could have used the Warrior on for positive value. Chimera, they don't have a lot of drones though, so it's not a huge finisher, so we shall see. In that case, I think we do this, we do that. That gives us a little more positive value, and then we use the Bone Talisman, and that means we'll win it. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and we know every single card in their deck because everyone is spamming the same deck, which is why I hate this event. But let's see if we can still take them out here, because we have Glorious Hunt, which is the answer to the most broken card in this event, Tibor. We know for a fact they have Tibor in their deck because everyone who's playing Nilfgaard is playing Tibor. We have some spawning with Ider, Spontaneous Evolution, Hatchling, Behemoth, Arachas Nest, a lot of spawning in fact. So that works well with Bone Talisman, Acid Spit. Arachas Venom, I'm not as sure we're going to benefit from that. I mean, it can work with the Acid Spit, but I think we could use a few more units here. Stalker could be useful. Okay. So the question is just when are they going to Tibor? But as long as we have this, we should theoretically be okay. Of course, there's always the chance they don't draw into it, but we should act on the assumption that they have it. All right, they're going to get a Hatchling, oddly enough. I mean, they definitely cannot get as much value out of it as we would get out of it. They're on blue coin, which means they have the extra 5-point advantage from their stratagem. Is it even worth it for us to try to push in this round? Since we're not drawing cards in between rounds, you could make a pretty strong case that we ought to just pass here, and then we'll have a long round 2 or round 3. That being said, Gwent is now a 2-round game because every single person will throw every single card they have in round 2 to try to 2-0 people because we've lost all sense of respect and common decency, and it's Nilfgaard, so I 100% know that they are going to do that. But I think we still pass here. We will have a long round 3 in that case, which means lots of potential to spawn, potentially some issue with us running out of board space, but with the Stalker, we might still be able to make that work, because that can consume some of the drones. So as long as we're mindful about that, we should still be able to make it work. And now we watch as our opponent likely demonstrates everything that is wrong with this current state of Gwent. Will they try to push 2-0 when they are card down with no potential to draw cards in between rounds? They will not. Okay. I venture to say the reason why they did that is because we're still on full cards, so they can't play Tibor without him getting damaged, and that is probably the only reason they're willing to do that. So now we're looking for 1 card to throw away here, and so whatever is our least valuable option, we should use that. I mean, we have a long round, so theoretically we may have plenty of time to spawn stuff. Arachas Nest might not be all that necessary. If we had pushed a little bit more in one of the previous rounds, we probably would have needed that, but we should still have decent spawning even without it. Okay, so I'm expecting them to play Tibor on their first turn, which means it's going to be Glorious Hunt on our next turn. We should put some form of engine on the board here. Let's go with the Hatchling. It has an armor, because it will get damaged by Tibor. And the Stalker, I mean, well, the Stalker does have Veil, but I don't want them to answer the Stalker in any way, shape, or form, because we kind of need this to do its thing, otherwise we will potentially run out of board space. Do also want to get Ider down early, but, well, we don't want that to get impostered, I suppose. We'll go Hatchling first. Make a decent case for Ider as well. Alright, it's Sheilard. That will hit Ider. Now you're going to make me regret having not chosen Ider for that first turn, but alright, now we'll do it. It is a card we also want to play early. Mage Infiltrator will destroy it. go back on their side. On the odd chance that they don't have Tibor, or again, maybe, I'm astonished they haven't played him yet, although occasionally you'll see people play him on the last turn, especially because, they have last say, don't they? Yeah, they're gonna play him on the last turn because they anticipate that we might have Glorious Hunt. Let's go Stalker next, because that is an engine we want to get. Set up early, and we'll likely use Spontaneous Evolution on it on our next turn. We'd also like to get Acid Spit going early. Okay, it's Vilgefort's Renegade. So we can figure out what they stole. They gave us an Obsidian Mirror. It wasn't Arachas Nest. What else did... it's the Ider that we just got destroyed, which means we could potentially destroy that with Glorious Hunt. If we anticipate they won't have Tibor, or if we think they're going to play Tibor on their last turn because they suspect that we have an answer for him. Okay, now we do this. And now we can start to take some things out with the Stalker. Like you. And we should also... I'd also like to get Acid Spit pretty quickly here. Okay, there is Ider. So we could choose to Glorious Hunt here to remove. This is dedicated specifically for Tibor, but the fact that they haven't played him yet suggests that they either don't have him, in which case, great, or more likely, they have him, but they're deliberately not playing him until their last turn so that we don't have time to answer him. So that, in that case, we should do it now to get... Oh. Wait. What the... Oh, yeah, Vilgefort's technically at higher base power. Alright, that is kind of unfortunate, because Ider is a valuable card for them. But let's see. Yeah, we should still... On our next turn, look to Acid Spit, I think. Now they could play Ider, or rather could play Tibor, because they now know that we don't have the best answer for him. That is one other downside to it. Might be about to lock this Hatchling. No? Okay. So, we can Acid Spit. We'd like for them to have more units lined up in a single row if possible, which they've not done, unfortunately. And we could put it on Sheilard, although it's going to end up passing over to that Ider that has a couple of armor points, which is not great. But eventually we may still be able to break through that a little bit, so maybe that is still the right choice. Also, I meant to do this first. That will pass over the infusion. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, just want to make sure I didn't mess with the Arachas Behemoth, which we're definitely going to want to play there on our next turn. And there is the lock, and not a very good one at that, because they would have gotten extra power from all the statuses on these drones in the... Man, obviously they can't lock Stalker because it has the Veil, but even still, could have been a pretty decent point slam just for that reason alone. Alright, and it's... Ooh, a lot of specials we have that benefit flooding the board, but there are some damaging ones as well, so I'm curious to see what they go for here. Obsidian Mirror. Some Stalkers and Hatchlings that are not really going to be that impactful. Not for them, at least. So now we go Behemoth here. Boost ourselves up, and this is where they would have benefited a lot from waiting just a little bit on that leader ability. We, at this point, probably should still get rid of that Stalker just in case, or this Hatchling, because they do actually have some spawning potential with Ider. So, I mean, this is just when you play organic cards. This, however, is when you spawn stuff, so that's more of a threat. And we do also technically want to outright remove cards, because we are likely to play Yen on our next turn. And so every unit that we remove is something that it helps us have more units on the board than they do. Alright, it's Imperial Golem. That's another card we would have liked to have gone with the tall removal. That is confirmation 1000% that they have Tibor in their deck. Again, it's just a matter of did they happen to draw into him, or did he get destroyed at the beginning of the match? So now we do this. We have a couple more charges, so we remove a couple more of their cards. And that means Yen is now very valuable in the range row, because we have way more than they do. And it also means this Bone Talisman should be very valuable as well. There he is! Everybody's favorite card. Why do you exist, Tibor? You are everything wrong with this event, and I would argue a lot of Gwent on the whole. But hopefully we can still beat him here. Now we can just hit you for the sake of hitting you. So we have a pretty large lead. We'll see what their last card is, though. They won't even bother to play it, because they know we got him. Alright, so going up against Syndicate here, and we'll go first. Okay, so we should have a lot of our insectoid synergies. Don't really want Ozzrel in round 1, but of course we're not going to get any new cards in round 2 or round 3, so we just need to plan around that. I think since this is Syndicate we're going against, though, Ozzrel probably still not the best choice here. Could potentially start with Fiend, in which case maybe Ozzrel could have worked by the time we got to round 2 or round 3, but I think we're, for the most part, going to focus on going as wide as possible, and Bone Talisman certainly helps us with that. I think the Witch Apprentice maybe not the best fit either for that reason, and yeah, okay. This makes a lot more sense, putting all this stuff together, I think. Not a lot of control. Mostly just that Parasite. So this might come down to just who can put up more points more quickly. And we could go Fiend as early as right now if we really wanted to. That would obviously give us a lot of tempo. So maybe that is the best choice here, especially with Magic Lamp. We could do both these two and dare them to catch us. Yeah, they'll go Tax Collector. It's not a very high tempo play, so we could pass right now and dare them to put up 10 points in one turn. If they do leader ability, they can probably make that happen fairly easily, but they may not want to do that right now. And if we do that, it would probably mean they dry pass in round 2 and we'd have a very long round 3. I imagine both of our decks are designed to go in a long round, so that is something else to bear in mind. We could otherwise, I mean, we could destroy you, but as I said, we have somewhat limited control here. So maybe we can go a little bit further, maybe a hatchling and then a little bit of additional spawning. Let's do that. Okay, Bincy has a lot of point scoring potential. That's not a bad option to use Parasite on her. I think that might be the way to go, to be honest. So I'm not sure we're going to have a better option than that. So let's get rid of her. We'll do a little bit of spawning. And then if we do want to play further, now we can start to consider things like Behemoth or other things that benefit from us going wide. Saul. Not that valuable yet, but will be in time, and further evidence that they are trying to go for a long round, but they may struggle to keep pace here, especially after having just lost Bincy. Again, they could use leader ability, but if they want to sacrifice that to win round 1, maybe we accept that since Jackpot comes in one big burst. I mean, they still have the passive component of the ability, but I think this is a half-decent place for us to pass here, unless if we went Behemoth, we have a few Insectoids there. That's not bad, but I want to make sure that we still have decent setup for round 3, because Bone Talisman is great if we have a full board, or close to a full board. So we're just trying to be very mindful of how long this is likely to make round 2 and or round 3. Okay, they're gonna go Professor. Is that enough? With the coins, that gets Saul bigger. Okay, that was well done. That was very well done. So they will win round 1. And now they did play one more card to do that, so they will dry pass here, as we might have expected. Throw down a Stalker. I mean, that is technically a little bit more control. We don't have a lot of good ways to set it up here, because we don't have that many big sources of boost. We can certainly do a lot of spawning, though. So, I guess we could consume, and then that does give us some potential that way. So maybe that's still a decent option for us. And we might not need that much spawning with the Hatchling, since with the Nest and a few more organic cards, plus the Behemoth, plus all leader ability charges, maybe we'll have enough of that going on. Everything here works together, so a little bit hard to say, but I think we can still make this work. Okay, so it's a 6-card round 3, so not full length, but still relatively long, which does work fairly well for us, but we suspect that may as well be the case for them. So that's something we were trying to weigh before. I think we do start with the Stalker, though. And we want to make sure we leave space for a ranged row Yen is where we anticipate that will be most valuable. We could even consider using some of these charges to give the Stalker something to consume and get him a little bit bigger so he's out of removal range. We're going to take a chance here, though. So I'd kind of like to go Behemoth on our next turn, at least. Okay, and it's Peaches, so no damage, no concerns there. We do go for the coins immediately, and that means that is very much an engine, and if we could destroy it, that'd be great. It'll take a bit to get the Stalker big enough to do that, though. So Behemoth is one way. If we do this, we should use some leader ability charges first. Let's see. So this is 3 additional cards, 4, which means we have room for exactly all 5 if we were to go that route, which I think is still okay. Sure. This, that. Not great in the sense that we would prefer... we're 1 charge short, unfortunately. But not great in the sense that obviously we want more units on the board for us to benefit from things like Yennefer. But to get rid of this, I think that's still pretty valuable. And, okay, so they're giving up on Peaches, it seems, and they went for Sea Jackal instead. That's fine. So now we no longer are concerned about the Stalker doing its damage. Now we just focus on getting as many units on the board as quickly as possible, because we want to have way more units than they have when we play Yennefer. So let's go Arachas Nest now. Will give us a couple of extra charges, so I mean, I guess we can destroy you just to be absolutely certain that you won't be an engine going forward. So we could Yen here, we could Bone Talisman here. They realize there's just no way they can stop us, though, because we have such a big advantage already, and these were just going to be humongous finishers as well. So we'll take the win. So there's a look at a Monsters Arachas Swarm counter meta deck for the new Banished seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions we should experiment with next. And take a look at our Banished playlist to see previous decks that we've used in this event as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.